This is Daily Dose of Daryl, Viewer's Digest from the People's Motivation Bureau, bringing you something positive, personal, and professional every day. This is Season 3, Episode 13, January 1st through the 7th, the year 2024, entitled Restart. Well, this last year, we finished up with a series for the last week of the year entitled Finish, F-I-N-I-S-H, exclamation point. Well, I got to thinking, apparently it would be good to start the new year with something kind of in line with finishing up last year. So we needed 7 letters, 7 things, 7 images, and guess what? We came out with restart. Because, you know, the calendar has been set up by various people, different calendars through the years, and time just continues to go on. But we have to have places to stop and start again. Even in life, you have that, sometimes not of your own free will. But we came up with, as we began 2024, the word restart, R-E-S-T-A-R-T. And we're going to look at that this first week and relate that to our entire life and different aspects of our life and different components of how do we really restart the journey as we begin a new year. Monday, reflect. The best place to begin as you restart a new year is to first reflect on your past journey so you'll know where you're starting from. Life is a journey. There are many ups and downs and different types of pathways we go through. But before we begin a new year and restart that journey again, where we've drawn this imaginary line, this is over and now we're going to have something new. Before we restart, we must reflect. Reflect on what has gone on, what lessons we have learned, what we have gained, how things have changed. So look back now at this past year of your life. Look back at the various experiences that you've had. Think about what you've learned from those, the mistakes you've made, the challenges you've overcome, or all the different things that took place, and begin to get some perspective about where you are right now in your journey. I've heard that until you get to the starting line, you're not in the race. And if you try to jump the starting line, you're disqualified from the race. And so you line up on the line with all the other runners in the race, and then it's go. And then you're on your own. So look at this new coming year as one to hold up just a minute, say that to the new year, wait a minute, and then look at the past year and get some sense of bearing of where you are right now in life so that you'll know where the starting line is for you and where you're planning to go from there. Reflect before you restart. Tuesday, examine. In order to restart, we first reflect on the past, but then we need to examine. We need to examine our value system. Now, sometimes things change. Life has a way of changing. If you look at any area of life, whether it's science, whether it's health, whether it's relationships, things constantly change. And so we must examine our value system and see how the setting around us has changed. Now, if you're planning to paint a deck and you look at the weather forecast and it's predicting rain, you may want to examine that data and decide wait a few days until there's a string of sunny days. So that will affect your decision making as you examine the situation. Another thing is we have a set of values that we're grounded on, basic values. And those really are rock solid. There's a rock solid base somewhere that you're grounded on. But even in the scriptures that I read growing up, it said, when I was a child, I acted like a child, I behaved like a child, I thought like a child, but when I became an adult, I put away childish things. And I think that's something that's very helpful. Even if you're of the Christian faith, you have a basic faith, but how does that apply in a new world where things are happening constantly? There are more options that we can take, more ways to apply God's love. And so begin to look at this before you start the new year, before you restart life's journey. Examine what your values are and how they've grown into adulthood and how you've learned more about your spiritual guide. For me, it was Jesus. And I learned a lot about him by looking at how he related to other people. And I realized that there were things that I didn't know when I was a child that now I do know. And I must learn how to apply those principles in this new world that I've learned about out here. And I know about my history now more than I ever knew. So think about that. Examine who you are and where you are, and know, first of all, what your basic foundational principles are, your values, but then learn now how you're going to apply those as you've grown into adulthood. Wednesday, R-E-S. So what's the S? The S is study your goals. Now, we've all set goals before in life. I remember when goals were perhaps like, how do you pull together a community for a crop hunger walk? Well, that's taking place. Or how do you set up a homeless shelter? That's taking place. Whatever your goals have been in the past, perhaps good things came from it, perhaps they didn't. But now is a new year we're going to restart our journey in. And so whatever goals you had for last year probably were valuable. Many were probably attained. But what about the new year? From where you are now and what your basic values are, what will your goals be for the new year? Okay? So, every 7 years, I understand, the cells of our bodies turn into new cells. So if you have cells in your eyes and in your nose, as prominent as it may be, or in some of your organs, whatever, all these cells make them up, but they change. So after 7 years, I understand that each one of us is an entirely new creation. Now, that being said, whatever your goals were 7 years ago, that was a different person that set them. The setting was different. So what are the types of goals that we each need to have as we restart this journey for the new year, and as we begin to move forward in that year, what goals we'll be focusing on, what goals will we be looking at and putting our attention to. Think about that, meditate on that, and begin to write them down and be excited about the possibilities that are there for you. Thursday, T, R-E-S-T. T is for tackle changes head on. You know, there's a natural resistance to change in each of us. We all like that comfort zone. We all like to think, well, we've got it figured out, we've checked it off the list. But life is a perpetual changing, revolving and evolving kind of situation we live in. So, we know we must change, but we got to learn to avoid denying that, and we must embrace it. And we must realize that we can't continue to deny the need for change, and there's no way to get around it if we're going to survive and be effective and productive people that we're created to be. So the best thing to do is to learn to tackle those changes head on. Now, if you ever played football and the guy on the other side of the line was twice as big as you, you might have had the thought of trying to avoid that or deny it or get around it. But the best thing to do is just tackle it head on. Just go right into the challenge. So this year, as you begin to look at a new year, and you have already begun to reflect on the past to know where you are now, you have examined your value system, you've studied your goals and updated your goals for the future, and now you begin to realize some of the changes that need to take place in your life. Just go ahead and make the decision to tackle them head on, and you'll be better off for that. Friday, A, action steps must be implemented. Throughout life, throughout scriptures, throughout philosophy, throughout all kinds of studies, action is always required, and our involvement is always required, particularly in the journey of our own life. And so that's the step that we must take next. Theory is great. Theory is a great way of thinking. Theory can come up with some great ideas, but theory only goes so far. I've read a lot of different books. I've read the Bible. I've read all kinds of scriptures. And throughout life, I have seen where it always comes down usually to a choice, normally between a couple of options. And so we are the ones that have to make that choice to either take a step down that road or down that road. Oh, Robert Frost had the great two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that's made all the difference. But a choice was made. And so today I encourage each one of us to realize we must become involved. This is not someone else's journey. This is not something that's theory. This is our life. And as the bell tolls and the new year begins, here we go. But it's here we go. We're taking the steps. We're moving forward in life. So I encourage you to get involved in this process of restarting your life for the new year in a positive manner. Saturday, or recruit helpers to gain perspective. That is so important. If you've ever been out in the woods, I remember when I was a kid, I would go out behind our house and I thought that was an eternity. It was infinite. It just went on forever. As an adult, I realized it was one block. But it's really thick woods and a lot of trees, and you really couldn't see where you were going. And we would go out there on a big expedition, and we usually have more than just one of us. There were other people with us, and if we'd venture off, we could kind of see each other. But then again, sometimes we would lose sight of each other. But we'd give a shout, a holler, and the other person would holler back. It would help give us a perspective on where we were. One of the really important things in life is to realize that oftentimes we can't see the forest for the trees. But if you step back over near Aunt Mittie's house, that was across the other street, you could see the forest over there instead of being caught up in the middle of it on your expedition. And sometimes when you hear that other voice, it would help you understand which way you needed to go and realized it wasn't that far away. And so as we begin to look at this year, and the R stands for recruit helpers. We must recruit people to help us have an outside view of our situation, to be able to gain a perspective of where we actually are. And sometimes, many times, we'll get a perspective on how we need to adjust our course correction. Maybe we need to go a little further this way or that way. But it comes from recruiting helpers. Sometimes they're called counselors, sometimes they're called coaches. There are all kinds of terms out there for people that are there to help others in their journey. Think about your journey, what kind of helper you need, and be sure to recruit the right kind of helper as you restart this brand new year. Sunday, T. Touch base with progress often. RESTART. Restart. We're coming to the end of this week, but it's the beginning of a new year. And so we want to be sure that we touch base with our progress often. You see, progress is not just a straight line day after day. Progress has its ups and its downs, and we need to, as we begin this new journey of a new year, we need to be sure that we get guidance regularly and check how our progress is going, if we're still pointed in the right direction, if we're still maintaining a focus on our goals. If you've ever ridden in an airplane, particularly a jet airplane, and maybe you've gone from one coast to the other or around the world. If you're going, say, from North Carolina to California, when that plane takes off, it knows where it's going to land. It knows the airport. It's out there. It's not a moving target. It is there. But the circumstances of life around that airplane, there are all kinds of turbulence. There are jet waves that come through. There's air that pushes in. There's storms that come up. There's all kinds of things that throw you off course. And so most of the time, the pilot, even though there is an autopilot now, but we're going to break it down simple like me, the pilot is adjusting its bearings, because most of the time the wind has blown it where it's really not pointing at the airport in California. So he brings it back a little, but it goes on and it's going to the right this time, and then it goes back a little bit, but he's constantly changing to keep it where it's going back toward the target, back toward the airport. You have to keep, every now and then, just keep looking. And if you don't, just one little degree off, if you don't adjust it, that will continue to, as you get closer to California, it'll be 2 degrees off, 3 degrees off, 4 degrees off, 5, and all of a sudden, you're in Oregon, or Washington State, or Alaska, depending on how far you're off. So it's that constant changing and adjusting, and that is because you have to touch base regularly with your progress and your direction, and make sure that you make those constant adjustments by touching base and looking at your progress. This has been a great week to start the new year, and basically I call it restart, because we've already had life before this year began, but we've had to reflect and know where we are at this point in our life, to know where we are starting from for this new year. And we've had to examine our value system that is based on something that's grounded, but that it constantly grows as we grow as adults. And we've had to study our goals that were made at one point in our life, and now we have to update them and then tackle the changes that need to be faced head on, and not be afraid of them, and don't deny that they're there. And we have realized that we must be involved. We must take the action steps required. They must be implemented. And then, aside from that, we don't know all the answers. We can't see the whole view. and we must recruit helpers that will help us gain a perspective on where we are in the big picture. And then we must be willing to realize that we don't check that off this first week of the year. We must touch base regularly with our progress and continue to make the adjustments needed so that we can move through this year gaining ground toward our goals, becoming more the person that we have the potential to be. And this particular procedure that I've outlined this week will apply not only to your life in general. This particular week of doses will help you in any area of life. The same principles apply. Books have been written on it. People have spoken on it for decades. We're just trying to help this week to bring it down in simple terms to help you as you move into this new year and restart your life. It's like a computer. That's way after I came along, computers. But sometimes you just have to reboot them. And you can have all the experts in the world calling in things that you might could do. Sometimes you just shut it down for a little bit, and then you reboot it again, and it'll solve your problems. So this week, called Restart, is to reboot your life's computer in a brand new way for a brand new year. God bless you. Thank you for your support and encouragement and your ideas, and always be sure to send me those. And God bless you. This is Darrell R. Peebles, the man behind the microphone, bringing you something positive each day from the Peebles Motivation Bureau, both positive, personal, and professional. Remember, there are 3 divisions: digital, real life, and print. But in the digital, we have not only the YouTube channel, but the website, Zoom events, and much more. In the real life, we do pulpit supply, funerals, weddings, magic shows, keynote speakers, and more. And in the print division, not only books, but magazine articles, newspapers, and custom artwork. Locally ordered books from me can get signatures and special discount. This one is already out and about, helping others. Churches and pastors have special discounts. I appreciate you, your ideas and support. Keep them coming. These are other areas that I might be able to help you, and these are my contact points. This is Daily Dose of Darrell, responding to the free and gracious gift of God. I am using humor, the art of illusion, modern technology, and decades of serving God and communities to work every day to uncover the beauty in all people and experiences coming my way, endeavoring to educate, entertain, and inspire. Each dose on this channel can help move us toward a better, healthier, and more informed mind, body, and spirit. I'm excited to be a small part of the expanding of our capacity to learn, love, and forgive, and together leave this world a better place for all. God bless you.